And we sat outside and we were like just talking, and then at a certain point, Martin and Thomas came up with the idea of like doing something with fire at this meetup, and they immediately catch my attention. So fire is always good, and well, basically we envisioned this meetup, and I think that day we also wrote Sebastian, and so all of this came together, and yeah, here they are, Martin and Chris and Thomas here backstage, and yeah, the warm hand of applause for both of them, and maybe we can just throw it away and just like, not use it.
Okay.
Boy, oh boy, are we excited to be here today. I'll tell you what, we got one hell of a device right here. This flamethrower is going to solve all of your problems. I'm telling you what, this thing is great. We've got an application that you can download right now if you want to put up that screen, Martin. This is my engineer, Martin. He's been helping me out with all this shit, and we're going to be putting this up. Now, you can scan that with a QR scanner, or you can open up that URL. Just go ahead and do that on your phones right now, and you'll see what's going on. So anyways, we've got this wonderful, wonderful flamethrower here that we've hooked up to an Arduino that's connected to our computer that communicates to our web server. And now we're going to go ahead and just do a simple demonstration of what this wonderful thing can do.
Thank you.
Yes, that's it. See you later. All right, great. And there we go. Another one coming down. So as you hit the heater button, you create yourself a fireball. So, even has sound. So if you put your sound up on your phone, you're going to hear a fireball as well. You do have to start the lighting of this. Anyways, yeah, go ahead and keep it burning, ladies and gentlemen, because this is the next thing that's going to solve all your problems. You're going to be able to stand by the fire and keep it warm and stay warm and nice and comfortable and great. This thing solves so much, it can change your back hair, it can change your arm hair, it can do so many things, like your cigarettes, you know. I don't know, burn down a church. You can do whatever you want with it. It's great. Anyways, what we did is, now I'm going to get out my stupid sales pitch thing. What we did was we created an Arduino matched up here to a progressive web app, which is what this is. So if you you can save that to your desktop and run it in a natural app environment, which we have here, which is outside of a browser because it's hosted in the shell for the progressive web app. It works offline, and once it's connected to the internet, it will commit to any of the button presses that you pressed and cause our flamethrower to start going crazy. So yeah, we came up with this idea while we were at the Roo.js, and it just evolved into this. We actually only started we came up with a lot of the concepts a few weeks ago and been working and building all the stuff, but we didn't actually start building it and putting it all together until a few days ago, which shows how powerful progressive web apps and Node and Arduino communication together is. And this all, it was easy, amazing, and phenomenal. Using Firebase as our main host for the progressive web app, and you can just keep on doing it. It works on desktop, it works on on any phone, on any device that runs progressive web app, which would be Safari or Chrome browsers and things like that. Yeah, so keep the voting coming. We've got some booze coming out for you here soon, yeah, Martin, you got anything else?
Well, first of all, how about a hand for my wonderful colleague?
And straight from America.
And his fantastic presentation. So, like Chris already said, this was like a drunken idea. And obviously, it did not get much better than that. And we just started working on this on Monday morning, actually. Well, morning-ish,
yeah.
Actually, and we kind of threw this together. So you can see some weird kind of bits of hardware that we cobbled together. A 3D printer played a leading role in things that didn't quite work until we put a lot of glue on them. There is a kind of a volatile element to this, and I would suggest that we stop putting the highly flammable 160 proof ROM into it. Actually, forget it.
Yeah,
it's
just
gonna be fine.
keep it burning, man. It's all
just
right.
going to get better. So here are some of the details that are actually quite nice about this. So this is a self-contained unit, and you can totally have this not just in your kitchen. You can also put this like everywhere else in your house. This is, like you said, it's a wonderful heater unit.
And I was without a
It's
heater for
festive.
2 weeks before we built this. All right, so it was big inspiration to get this done.
So if the gentleman or lady from the crowd would please press again, because this is just wonderful and it's underlining my point. This is just, it's nice, it's festive, and it just gives your house just so much of an atmosphere. It's wonderful, terrific. And think of all the other uses you can have. Like yesterday, for example, I realized while I was still tinkering on the details that I had way too much hair on my arms. And look at that, look at the difference between this arm and this.
It has
It's
corrected his
fantastic.
issues.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. I was a bit pressed for time, so I only got through the one, but I can promise you the next one like tomorrow, totally. Right, so what are we actually doing here? We are basically we are pumping some highly flammable rum from. Whoa, that's almost empty.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a lot of pumps, a lot of pumps.
So we're pumping it through a food-safe pumping system. That's also why you hear this pleasant whirring sound that gives you kind of like an audible reminder of what's happening right now. It's a food-safe peristaltic pump right in this device. And that means it's totally safe to drink that liquid. Well, honestly, I'm not sure if it's too safe after we put all of that rum in there, but you'll be doing the judge of that. You can totally imagine this in just a moment. And we do have a kind of a visual notification system as well. So if someone would please, again, press that. Thank you. Now that's what I'm talking about. This is not just for the atmosphere. This is also for you to know what is happening, right? So maybe you're a little bit further away from the device, like for safety reasons, of course. And you can't actually hear the pleasant noise it's making, so you can see a very strong visual mark something has happened. And that's good. That's good user experience, right?
Oh, but don't forget, if you're outside your room, you can press a button and your phone says fireball. And that's how you know it went off.
Absolutely, I have to showcase this because, first of all, absolutely, I would like to thank this audience. You are the kindest people we have shown this to yet. And that's not just because we just barely finished this in time for this presentation.
And no one's gotten injured tonight.
Oh yeah. That's the first two, I think, at least for us. And so what I would like to thank you for is you all muted your phones before you sat down. That's great. That is very, very good discipline. But my point is, this actually has an audible feedback on the phone. So if you click this here a couple of times until it's actually responding, you hear that pleasant sound that just says fireballs right there in the name, right? Perfect. Perfect.
Yep. Fireball. I heard it over there. Wonderful.
Right. So I think we're now at the point where this the liquid in the larger container is getting close to being flammable on itself. So I would like to suggest that at this point we just say we've had enough rum for the evening. The pump is probably, that's gonna be enough. Feel free to give us more fire.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it warm. It's very cold.
So I would like to actually, because we already started this as an interactive talk, hand over to the audience. What questions do you have? What can we answer for you? Should it be about design, functionality, or technology? It's totally fine. We're here for you. What would you like to have answered about this device?
Show the code.
Show the code, huh?
Wonderful. So
Yeah.
over to you.
Yeah. So we're running on a very vanilla progressive web app. Okay.
What's that job sign?
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. So it's actually very simple. So we've got everything running on a within our progressive web app folder here. It runs the Firebase configs and everything like that. So Firebase, if you don't know it, built by Google just for hosting web applications and things like that. It is phenomenal.
Can you zoom in a little bit? It's hard to read.
Yeah, sorry, that was, I'm not sure where it was there. But it's, my IDE does not want to zoom, so hold on 1 second, sorry. Well, regardless.
That is delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I got a name for this. Would you like to try this too? And just tell me if I'm capturing this. You got your own cup.
Oh yeah, wonderful, wonderful.
I would like to christen this drink the bloody awful.
The bloody apple,
The bloody awful.
because it is awful and it is bloody. But cheers.
Good grief.
Oh jeez. Yeah. Anyways, so let me increase the font here. Sorry.
There you go.
So, anyways, we're running this on within Firebase as our host, and it is basically just an HTML web app running with all the Firebase APIs. This is actually our admin center. I can pull up this is our main JavaScript document that runs the whole Heatr commands, and it is very short. So everything for the database and communicating back and forth is done through Firestore from Firebase, and it's very, very amazing. You know, they've got a snapshot collection, so you can actually watch or add listeners up to the queries that you do. So when something changes within your database, it will automatically listen and see that, and you'll see the changes on any code that's connected to that. I can show an example of that right here. So these are just snapshots from the from the Firebase code for Firestore that runs from the collection for our queue. Where the fireball is false, then it runs through and orders it by the snapshot. So anytime that the application gets the button pressed, it'll see that within our admin interface and communicate back and forth between the Arduino. And it's very, very simplistic and very easy to run, and it's installable and easy everywhere. So yeah, next question. Anyone?
Can you show the contents of Serial.js?
The contents of Serial.js? No. No.
So what is the exact, how does this thing, so what happens from giving a signal to the flame coming out and maybe also the run coming out exactly in the hardware?
Yeah, so yeah, you want to go ahead and go to the hardware?
Oh, okay, let's talk about the hardware. Okay, so we already started by saying we have an Arduino Leonardo in here. The Arduino Leonardo, of course, I'm going to step a little bit over here. I do really like my eyebrows. The Arduino Leonardo is the wonderful device that is actually allowed to connect to the browser, although you do have to patch it to USB 2.1. And we connected that to a small breadboard that I can show you 0 pictures of, except for the one that's already on Twitter, because it's all in that nice little box there. And basically we just added a breadboard with a small amplifier circuit. It's just a MOSFET that basically it gives you a switchable gate to control a 12-volt power source with the Arduino without frying it. So we have 2 channels that we're controlling. One is for the pump, which is on a 12-volt circuit, and that's actually fed by a LiPo battery that's hidden in this case here, down here. So you can think of that the lower half is mostly battery, which of course is just wonderfully sustainable as a device in the home. And that's just to make this dreadfully noisy pump work. And then we have a servo attached pretty much directly to the Arduino, because, well, as you probably know, you can just connect servos. And that went through a lot of iterations. It's actually the most complicated part of this machine, which doesn't look like it. This device here, which does nothing else than trigger the release valve on this pressurized container. And that's actually a very difficult thing to do reliable. So I'm quite surprised that this worked at least 24 times right now, because our record so far was 3 or 4 times in a row until it started failing. The problem is that the kind of force you have in here is quite a lot. And at the same time, the tolerances you're working with are tiny, especially if you consider that this is all printed very quickly on a terribly awful amateur 3D printer, and we did, of course, not have the time to print this from enough material so that it's actually rigid. So this is all very flexible, and it's basically clinging on to the massive pressurized gas container of the larger flamer in here. So I would like to suggest that if we want to bring this to market, we should do some redesign on the hardware.
I don't
Just a
know.
tiny
I think
bit.
it's ready for production.
Well, a version 1, but how about like a version 2.0? I'm thinking just a hair, just a smidge more 3D printed plastic, perhaps. Right, and originally we were planning to just press the totally flammable 160 proof rum through a fine nozzle and turn it into mist. Well, it turns out I didn't go to university and study engineering, because you can't really do that with that kind of pump. The pressure is nowhere near enough. And the only thing that happened after I actually figured out how to model a nozzle like that, what the geometry has to be like, what happened was that it was kind of spitting a few drops and that was it. And then the pump was stalling. So we went through several iterations until finally we figured out that pressurized gas is a very, very excellent source of fireballs. So that's where this is coming from. And you know, of course, the idea of iterative working. The basic concept, from my perspective, is you had an idea and it's not working. So you're going to try it again and it's not working. And at some point you have spent so much time on the idea that you just keep iterating, because how awful would it be to stop now? Right? There are other ways to describe that kind of behavior, but we just call it development. Right. And having said something so shameful about the thing we did and we built here, what else can I tell you about the electronics? Well, there really isn't much else. You might have noticed this tiny black thing here, and after I put your attention to it, please pay it no mention at all, because it's not working. Turns out these tiny OLED displays are wonderful. They are super cheap and they are very, very reliable, except for when you drop super glue on them, because the display part doesn't like that. Cannot recommend that. It turns out that the IC that drives the display actually disassembles when it gets into contact with super glue. First time that ever happened, I was very surprised. Was the last one I had. So cannot recommend using super glue on these things. Right. Did I answer vaguely some of the questions you asked?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I do have a tendency to ramble, so kind of, yeah. Anything else we can answer about this?
What are the numbers under the name?
The numbers under that's the ID. That's the timestamp. Sorry, that's the timestamp. So this is our admin interface, right? So we can see the votes and the current votes and see what's going on. And this also has manual controls here. So I can actually go ahead and start the firewall and hold it for a while. Play with it a bit. But yeah, so this has got all the manual controls and things like that. And yeah, this is just these are just working off of timestamps. You know, very, very standard, very basic.
Yeah. So what you're seeing here is basically a fledgling idea of a feature that we didn't implement yet, which is what happens if people just keep mashing the button, and many people keep doing that, like we have this evening. How do you handle the queue? Because you keep queuing up events, and they happen faster than the machine can actually work through them. And there are several ways to deal with this. Of course, one very simple one is to just drop them after some time, which is what we're doing right now. A nicer way would be to turn this into a bit of a game. So you put in a bit, and that means you need to be identifiable by a name that you can see on your phone, right? So you put in a bit, and if you actually win, during a certain time box, you get a playback on your phone which says, yeah! And everyone else is just, all the phones are screaming fireball, and yours is going to go, yeah, because you won. And it's going to give you a visual feedback as well, and then you know this has been your fireball. But that was quite difficult to implement, and it's definitely something that we're looking for in the future, and that we have to go into some more iterations on.
Yeah, we're about 90% there, and
Yeah,
yeah,
so
had to
given
scrap
the-
it last moment. We feel like Blizzard.
So we're thinking next Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But just in time for the holidays, you know, everybody's getting
Absolutely.
cold, needs some booze, needs some
Wonderful.
warmth. We got the heater.
Wonderful.
But yeah, so and everyone has got, like you said, the name, and then there's a unique ID which is based off of a timestamp and hash from when you entered the app, so to give everybody, you know, complete uniqueness and trackability. And then adding the listeners, the snapshots on the app and on the admin interface allow for a very low latency and very low lag on reaction time from the server to both the apps. It's yeah, pretty much phenomenal. So, any other questions?
There was one question why you chose Firebase, but that's sort of your WebSocket server that you just have in the cloud.
Yeah, it's just Firebase is a very simple and easy solution, especially for if you want to do things that are like pre-baked, you know, for the most part. And so we chose Firebase because of you know, timing issues and you know, wanting to get it up there and rolling, because we didn't want it to configure a bunch of things to make sure that everything was properly. And this is you know, one of the things I wanted to do was check out Firebase and all the things they've done to it, or Firestore and what they've done to it recently. And it's in beta, Firestore Cloud, and it's, you know, like I said, it's awesome. I've loved it so far. Yeah, so the main decision was just, you know, what's the best for us to launch this now without having to do a bunch of extra configuration. And that's the beautiful part about progressive web apps is if you're in a time crunch and you need to get this app out or you need to do this, you know, even a prototype for an app, just make a progressive web app, run it on Firebase, just get it out there to the client so they can see it, and then you can build a native app off of that. I mean, progressive apps, they're the next part. They have, you know, pretty much all the features. They're going to have a lot more of the features, but they have a whole lot of features when it comes to, you know, mobile devices and actual native, between native and progressive web apps. But yeah, so Firebase is the best solution for that.
Yeah, actually, if I remember correctly, we started with DigitalOcean,
Yeah.
and you were quite frustrated, right?
Yeah. We were doing DigitalOcean and Stencil, which is an Ionic framework, and because Ionic has built up, you know, their native framework, and then they spun off this progressive web app thing off, which is actually pretty cool, and Stencil's pretty rad. But it was just too much for this, you know, for this whole thing, and so I came across, you know, the thought of doing it on Firestore. There it is.
Yeah. Right, other questions we can answer. Okay, cool.
Can we get some of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.